What a headshot! What a head!
How's it guys, this is Dayvy, FPL, and welcome back to the Fantasy Premier League video here on my channel. And in this video, I'll be taking you guys through my upcoming team selection for Game Week 16. So as you guys know, Game Week 16, the last game week for a while, up until after Christmas, when the Premier League will resume after the World Cup. So yes, we'll all be getting unlimited transfers, a free wildcard between Game Week 16 and 17, so this is going to be the game week to take those 1 week punts on. So that's exactly what I'm going to be talking about later into the transfer plan. First, I'm going to give you guys a quick review of Game Week 15, see how the game week went. Was it a red arrow? Was it a green arrow? Then I'm going to shift the attention to kind of giving you guys some context about how the current team selection is looking. But after that, don't worry, we'll be kind of going into an ultimate guide section, giving you guys the fixtures to target on those 1 week punts. Then finally, to wrap up the video, I'll be giving you guys my latest transfer plan heading into the Game Week 16 deadline. Now first things first, I just want to tell you guys that the deadline stream for Game Week 16 might not happen. I'm actually traveling to Australia on Friday to Saturday, and therefore the deadline's quite late that side. So just make sure that you guys are following me on Twitter or my Discord server, where I'll be giving you guys the most up-to-date team as possible if I don't do a quick live stream. But now that we've got all the admin out the way, heading into the team selection, sit back, relax, and let's get straight into it. So now going on to a quick review of Game Week 15 as you always do in these team selections, but don't worry, we spoke about it quite in depth in the transfer plan, so I'll only be going over the main talking points. So unfortunately, you guys can see bottom right hand side, the red value is going to indicate a red arrow, so about 25k places from about 170k to about 200k. It's a little bit of a small red arrow, but still a red one at the end of the day. So it's quite disappointed with how kind of Game Week 15 actually ended. Going in, we had a pretty respectable plan. Unfortunately, one or two things didn't kind of plan out, and unfortunately, our transfer selection wasn't the greatest. So it actually did end on 60 points, but I took a minus for it, so that was going to end on 56. Now obviously heading into the transfer plan for the upcoming game week, 1 free transfer and 2.9 million in the bank, and although you guys can also bank the transfer heading into game week 17 with a wildcard around the corner, that's completely useless. But let me know how you guys got on in game week 15. Was it a green arrow, was it a red arrow? And hopefully in game week 16 we can get a green, so we can kind of look at a green arrow for about a month's time. Heading quickly onto our bench, and the reason we pretty much got a red arrow was that we did have some bench points. Danny Ward and Andreas both with a 6-pointer, Anderson with a 2-pointer though, Nico Williams with only a 1-pointer. Not really regretting putting those two on the bench. Now with Danny Ward, it seems like there's been a resurgence in that Leicester defense. They're racking up the clean sheets at the moment, and definitely a talking point going to Game Week 16 on our keeper selection. The reason I'm saying that is that if we go to our starting goalkeeper, Nick Pope only got us 3 points there, an actual save point, so quite a rare save point out of Nick Pope, but they conceded basically in the 89th minute to Southampton. So we've kind of gone back a few game weeks, back to the time when Newcastle conceded only kind of 1 goal, 1 chance, and when they ended up winning 4-1, I was pretty sad that they lost the clean sheet. Luckily though, going into our defensive department, Kieran Trippier did not lose the clean sheet. He was actually subbed out before they lost it, which just shows you how late they actually conceded. But to the left and the right of him wasn't too many points, especially from the left hand side. Cancelo ended up getting a red card, wiping out the Man City clean sheet, resulting in him getting minus 2 points. But don't worry guys, if you have transferred Cancelo out, that was a major mistake. He was suspended for the League Cup game this midweek, and therefore is fine for the upcoming game week. In terms of Kurt Zuma, kind of West Ham's defense completely disintegrated, having kind of backing the defense over these past couple game weeks. They actually considered as being super strong, but then what happens? They lose their clean sheet, and then Zuma also gets a minus point for goals conceded. But at least Kieran Trippier got us some points, but at the end of the day, everyone kind of owns him, similar to kind of Cancelo, so their points mean basically nothing. Now heading into our midfield department, and this is where kind of the wheels fell off the bus a bit. We actually brought in Kevin De Bruyne. We got news that Haaland was on the bench, Foden was on the bench. KDB was definitely the best captaincy option going to Game Week 15, and that's why I made the move from Salah to him. But as you guys know, Salah actually outperformed even the captaincy of KDB, getting a massive 15-point against Spurs. Now, I don't really think this transfer was kind of the worst decision in the world. I mean, I thought that Spurs would be a lot defensively more assured. I mean, Dyer did mess up quite badly to give Salah the second goal. But overall, Man City with that red card weren't too great going forward. So I can't help but think if Cancelo didn't get sent off, maybe KDB would have got some more points. I mean, he even had an assist ruled out for offside. That was going to be a Haaland goal. So I think it was a little bit unlucky at the end of the day. At least we did keep hold of Wilfried Zaha though for his massive 12-point. I say massive though, just because over the prior game weeks hasn't got us many points. I think we're even lucky sometimes to get 3 or 2 points because of his yellow card nature. So at least we did keep hold of him, had the patience, because if we did transfer him out, that would have been a very bad game week. Then our 2 Arsenal assets, Martinelli only with a 3-pointer, then Saka with a 5-pointer. Actually thought that Arsenal-Chelsea game might have had a few more goals in it, only the 1 goal, and at least Saka got the assist for it. Now he did rack up a yellow card, and that's why he did only have a 5-pointer. He might have even been on the bonus points as well. So overall the midfield department was pretty strong, but considering the fact that we took Salah out, it could have been a lot better. Then our final department to go over is in terms of the forwards, and definitely Erling Haaland, the first forward to actually talk about, was where the big news was going to rely on for Game Week 15. So luckily or unluckily, we actually got news that Haaland and Foden were on the bench pre-Game Week 15, but then the servers ended up crashing. But I can't really complain about that because I got my transfers in, I got my captaincy in. But I do think if you guys actually missed it, or if you couldn't get on the servers, you might have actually been better off. You guys would have seen I took on Mo Salah, Chancellor, you probably would have kept him. Maybe your captaincy would have been on only Haaland. I mean, a 5-pointer for an injured option isn't even that bad. It was just a few less points than Kevin De Bruyne. But then the unlucky nature of Game Week 15 continued into our kind of newly transferred in Callum Wilson, subbed off at halftime. If you guys are watching kind of FPL Twitter, it was noted that he was actually sick last week, but we thought he actually recovered in time for the weekend. That obviously wasn't the case, might have had a resurgence of that illness, so please keep your eyes out for the news because he wasn't on the bench last night for Newcastle. Then finally, Dom Solanke came in with a nice 6-pointer, scored against Leeds. What are Bournemouth absolutely doing, going 2 goals up again, then losing the fixture at 90 minutes. But yet again, we're kind of seeing that Bournemouth are scoring a ton of goals and Solanke is only involved in 1 or 0 of them. But at the end of the day, he's so cheap though, so I'm not going to argue too much about him, and that 6-pointer in this game week was going to be well worth it. So once again, let me know how you guys got on in Game Week 15. You guys can see my overall squad wasn't too bad, but some unluckiness came into account, especially when we transferred out Mo Salah for Kevin De Bruyne, and Salah went and banged a double. But you guys can roast me in the comments down below, but make sure that you post what you got for Game Week 15. Now we're going to shift our attention to the upcoming game week 16, the game week before the World Cup actually commences, and definitely the last game week for a while. So I've already mentioned this, but I do hope that we get a green arrow in game week 16 because if I load up the FPL app in a month's time, I still want to see a green arrow and not a red one. Now I'm going to give you guys the context of the current team selection, and that's going to make the transfer plan a little bit easier just because in the back of your mind you guys can see what I'm currently dealing with and where the kind of red flags are. Now I'm going to start off on our bench department, and we do have some bench coverage here if we do need it. Danny Ward against West Ham, I'll talk about him a little bit later on when we talk about our starting goalkeeper, but Andreas against United isn't the worst fixture in the world. Now the big news is that Mitrovic is apparently going to be missing Serbia's first World Cup game and therefore will be nowhere near the starting 11 for the weekend. So that therefore means that Andreas is going to be on penalty, so if you guys do think they'll get a penalty, maybe start him, but I think United have improved defensively, except for maybe Game Week 15. It's not the worst fixture on the world, but definitely kind of a bench coverage fixture in my own team, as I can't really see myself starting Andreas. Same can be said about Kurt Zuma after last week's performance. I'm not really too confident on that West Ham defense. Leicester's also quite a strong attacking side, and therefore I'm perfectly fine benching Kurt Zuma. In the final option on the bench, Neco Williams actually faces one of my other teammates. It's going to be Wilfred Zaha, and that's why I hope that Zaha scores and Neco Williams concedes if he's going to be on my bench. So to be honest, bench kind of picks itself for this game week. Can't see myself starting any of these assets. But now going to the starting 11, and we hit with a kind of dilemma right away. Nick Pope versus Danny Ward. Who would you guys start? Who are you guys actually starting? You guys probably own both these two assets. I can understand maybe going for a Nick Pope. We have Trippier ready in our defense, spoiler alert there. So we're going to be going for a double up and hope for a clean sheet. But now the cards, maybe play the odds there. Maybe expect Chelsea to concede. They are still a pretty good squad. But Newcastle's defense has been pretty resilient. So right now, I'm going to be going for the double up. I want to play the odds in this game week. Maybe Nick Pope can get us some save points. Whereas with Danny Ward, it's an away fixture, and that's why I'm not too fond of it. But now heading on to the rest of our defensive department, starting with the outfielders. The first player, Cancelo. So a reminder here that Cancelo is going to be fit and ready, not suspended for the upcoming game week 16. He served his suspension yesterday in the EFL Cup, and therefore against Brentford home, this is a great fixture on paper. Now you guys know what Cancelo offers that defensive and that attacking threat. When he's not getting red cards, usually gets us some FPL points, so have faith in this one. Then we already spoke about the Newcastle defense. Kieran Trippier, definitely will be starting him. Has such attacking threat in that side. Newcastle are scoring a bunch of goals. The defense isn't as strong as maybe I would have liked it to be since bringing them in game week 8, but they've racked up a couple of clean sheets in the prior game weeks. So 100% fine starting Kieran Trippier, but Nick Pope is a little bit of a debate. Then the final defender to go for is going to be that Crystal Palace defense against Nottingham Forest away. Now, I am slightly worried about this. Nottingham Forest coming off quite a good result in the EFL Cup, have been looking better from an attacking point of view, and Crystal Palace's defense is definitely not up to scratch. But if I don't make a transfer in my defensive department, I'm fine with starting Anderson this week. I mean, it is a good fixture on paper, just a pity as an away one. Now, I guess there could be a talking point about potentially starting Zuma over Anderson, but I just favor the fixture here on paper. Now heading into our midfield department, and I'm going to start off with our newly transferred in from Game Week 15. Kevin De Bruyne was rested last night in the EFL Cup, should be fine for the upcoming game week, but I am waiting for some early team use if he does actually start. The reason I'm saying that is pure kind of speculation. With the Mo Salah in the background, I could always just go for him, and I do worry slightly that there might be some rotation in Game Week 16 with the World Cup in mind. But because he was rested midweek, I think he should be fine for the upcoming game week, and Brentford at home is a great fixture on paper. Next up, we have Wilfred Zaha kind of accompanying Anderson there. Nottingham Forest away is a great fixture on paper. Nottingham Forest currently haven't really racked up those defensive stats and are looking like one of the worst defenses in the Prem. So I do hope that Wilfred Zaha starts at centre forward. We saw that in Game Week 15, looked a lot stronger, more of an attacking threat at centre forward, versus kind of going on the left or right wing. So here's hoping that he does start there and gets us some FPL points because it's a great fixture on paper. And the final two midfielders to go for are going to be our double up of the Arsenal assets. Great fixture on paper here, Wolves away. Think there should be goals in this one for Arsenal, and that's why Martinelli and Saka should hopefully get us some attacking returns. Now both these two assets did have some minutes managed in the EFL Cup, so both should be fine for the upcoming game week, but I can see both of them keeping one eye on the World Cup. Now finally going to our forward line, the first option, Erling Haaland. Big news about Haaland this week yet again. Pep came out a few days ago and said that he wasn't actually fit. He's still injured, he's not looking at his best, but then he was on the bench last night in the EFL Cup. Now he did not actually come off the bench, so we don't exactly know if he's going to be fit for the upcoming game week. So yet again we are relying on some early team use because Man City have the first kickoff. But right now the plan is to keep Erling Haaland unless he is going to be out, but even then might not be worth losing the money on him. And then also want to remind you guys that he did also come off the bench in Game Week 15, also might have scored 2 goals, but then he was ruled offside for the first one. Next up is Callum Wilson, a player that's currently struggling with illness, as Eddie Howe has confirmed after the EFL Cup. Now, will he be back for the upcoming game week? I probably think so, but just keep your eyes on this one. Now, disregarding the kind of illness, Chelsea at home on paper isn't the worst fixture in the world. If you guys look at the stats, Chelsea have been kind of regressing. The defensive form isn't that strong, and they also lost last night against Man City, but I guess Man City are a different team. So definitely keeping my eyes on Callum Wilson's fitness, because if he is out, I do have a transfer coming up that is quite appetizing. Then the final asset to go for is going to be Solanke at home against Everton. Perfectly fine playing Solanke this week. Everton aren't defending that great, aren't looking that great, and Bournemouth are scoring a few goals in the past couple of game weeks. So let's just hope that Solanke is involved, and more of them would really like him to be more of a talisman, because the goals are definitely there. He has to just get those FPL returns. So kind of zooming out, taking a holistic approach to this team, you guys can see the team looks pretty strong here. Yes, there are 1 or 2 kind of question marks in terms of the defensive department. Nick Pope or Danny Ward. We've got Anderson here, not the highest ceiling in the warding. It's Nottingham Forest have been attacking better. Then you obviously have Callum Wilson, who I'm a little bit of a question mark about. But let me know what you guys are currently dealing with, and what are your transfer plans going to Game Week 16. Now, the final talking point to go over in terms of our team selection is going to be all about captaincy, and right now, I do still have the armband on Erling Haaland. He was on the bench last night in the EFL Cup, so I do think he's going to be fit to play on the weekend. But yes, if we do get news that he's going to be on the bench or not starting or that sort of thing, I will obviously change it, and that'll probably go to Kevin De Bruyne. Let me know who you guys are captaining for the upcoming game week, if Haaland plays or if he doesn't. Now shifting our attention to the actual transfer plan, and I'm going to kind of go into an ultimate guide topic here. I want to show you guys the best fixtures for the 1 week punts. So what I did was I went over to Fantasy Football Fix, went onto their fixture planner or analyzer, went over to their attacking ratings. These are going to be the top teams in terms of the attacks. Now I've actually listed 8 teams on screen right now, you guys can see. I would probably favor the top sides, but the bottom ones also have some great fixtures. So let's go over team by team, giving you guys some options and some players that you guys can select from these respective teams. Now, first disclaimer here, if there is a fixture that you guys want to target, 100% go for it. If you do think that's a great asset that's not on screen right now, that's 100% fine. But in terms of my 1 week punt suggestions, let's start off first with the Spurs assets. Kjellman out with the injury, so can't really recommend him, but that has open space in that forward line. Now, we saw Ivan Perisic start at that centre forward / left wing position, but then move back to his natural kind of wing back position against Liverpool. Now, if Perisic is rumoured to start yet again at that centre forward position or the more forward position, I'd definitely be tempted as a punt for him. Now, the only thing I'm concerned about this fixture is that Leeds are quite a strong attacking side, and I can see Spurs kind of conceding. So if you guys don't want to go for a defend, I think a Kulusevski is also a great shout to go for. I would be a little bit worried about his kind of potential minutes. Just came back from kind of a long-term injury. Is he going to be kind of playing 90 minutes? Probably not. But in those kind of 60 or whatever minutes he does get, he could always get you some returns. So in terms of kind of 1 week punts, I think Perisic and Kulusevski are where it's at for Spurs. Now, next up is with the Liverpool assets, and kind of referring to Liverpool as a 1 week punt, how this season has kind of changed. But yes, unfortunately, Liverpool's form hasn't been that great. So I do think any of their assets are kind of 1 week punts to go for. So if you guys don't own a Salah, don't own a Trent, I think those two are great assets to look at. I think right now I'm currently looking at a Darwin Núñez as a potential punt, as he always looks so good playing that Liverpool shirt. Now, if you guys can't afford Trent, a Robertson, a Van Dijk are also kind of potentials, but I do slightly worry about this new manager bounce for Southampton. Now, the next team, Man City, is probably the one that I would target. If you guys don't own a triple up, a double up, definitely kind of fulfill that triple up or double up. Now, you can wait for as long as possible for early team use, but just be careful, we might not get the entire team sheet. But I think right now everyone owns a Haaland, a Cancelo, so I'm not going to talk about them, but I think a KDB, a Foden after his rest in midweek, both those two assets could be great shouts. But yes, if you want to risk it on Foden, you can go for it. I do think he'll actually play on the weekend, but there's been some speculation about him potentially being benched yet again. Now, West Ham, I mean, Jared Bowen's an option to look at, but I probably won't be going for too many of the West Ham attacking assets. I mean, the defense is pretty fine, but I think right now, West Ham are probably the team that I might avoid or might not prioritize heading into Game Week 16. Now, if you guys are a West Ham fan, you guys can always drop it in the comments down below. Who would you recommend? But with Scamacca and Antonio kind of rotating right now, I can't really predict what the starting lineup's going to be. Now, the Everton assets, I can't really recommend too many of their attackers. I mean, Anthony Gordon, Amari Gray are 100% fine. Calvert-Lewin, as far as I know, is a major doubt for the weekend, therefore I can't recommend him. Now, you could also go for a defend. I think Bournemouth aren't the best attacking side in terms of the stats, probably one of the worst attacking sides, so defender could be one to look at, but I think there are more exciting assets to kind of go for on a 1 week punt. Crystal Palace, same thing. If you guys don't own a Wilfried Zaha, he could be an asset to look at, but other than that, I probably won't stretch that far. Now, the last two assets I want to talk about, because I actually excluded them from my kind of selection. If you guys have watched my channel, you guys know I always go for the top 6 fixtures, but I decided to include Brighton and Man United here because they have that punt potential. So Trossard could be a great shout, a Rashford for United could be also a nice one, and their fixtures on paper look pretty strong. I think if I had to kind of decide between these two, probably would go for the Fulham fixture. I think United have a high ceiling in terms of that game, and that's why Rashford for me is a great shout to go for. So kind of looking at these top 8 teams, these are the ones that I would target. Definitely kind of your Spurs, Liverpools, and Man Cities are where the kind of the cream of the crop is going to be, and that's how I target those 3. But other than that, there could be some differentials there that you guys could go for 1 week punts on. Just check the ownership within your respective ranking. But now going on to my own transfer plan for the upcoming game week, and yes, I'll be using a transfer. I don't want to bank one going to game week 17. Please don't do that. Use your transfer this week, even if it's going to be on kind of a bench option. So in terms of my 1 week punts, you guys know I'm a Liverpool fan. I'm looking at bringing in a Liverpool asset, but no, that's not only because I support them, it's because they have a great fixture on paper against Southampton at home. Now yes, they might have that new manager bounce, but I think at Anfield, Liverpool are a completely different side, and that's how I do have faith in them. Now, if I have to give you guys my kind of realistic rating of transfers right now, I think the most realistic one and the one I'm kind of tempted by the most is going to be Darwin Núñez in. As mentioned early on, when playing for Liverpool, looks like a great asset to kind of go for. And as I mentioned earlier on as well in kind of previous videos, he is quite selfish, and from an FPL point of view, that's what you want. Now yes, this might be me kind of saying, I don't own a Salah anymore, I want some Liverpool coverage. There's nothing wrong with that, as I do think there might be some goals in this one for Liverpool. Now in terms of the transfers out, the one option I'm kind of on my mind, I know we just transferred him into the squad, it's going to be Callum Wilson out against Chelsea at home. Now I guess it might be that kind of illness threat, don't really know how that's going to affect his performances. I can't really risk going for another 1 pointer, and that's why Darwin Núñez is a nice upgrade to go for. So as I said earlier on, this is kind of the most realistic option I'm currently looking at, as I really favour the attack of Liverpool. But let's just say that I don't really favour the attack. I want to go for a defender, but I guess the defender is also an attacker. It's Trent Alexander-Arnold against Southampton at home as well. Now yes, Trent might not be able to defend, but at least I hope that he might get lucky. Liverpool keep a clean sheet. There might be an attacking return for Trent. As you guys know, he's just so attacking. Now in terms of the transfer out, nice and easy transfer. Kurt Zuma out on my bench anyways against Leicester at home, and then Trent will obviously come in for Anderson. Now I do think Trent will start. If you guys did watch the EFL Cup game, Robertson and Trent were both rested, so either of those 2 assets could be a great shout to go for. I just can afford Trent, and that's what I'm going from, but as mentioned, Van Dijk and Robertson are also perfectly fine options. Now I do know what you guys are probably saying, why am I going for a Liverpool defender in? Their defense has been terrible. Yes, I do agree with you, but in terms of 1 week sample size, let's just go for a 1 week punt and hope that Liverpool do keep a clean sheet. Now I did mention in the transfer plan earlier this week that I was actually looking at a Perisic, but right now I think Trent kind of edges him slightly. Now the final transfer to go over, and therefore the most unrealistic one, is going to be a shout for captaincy. Let's just say we don't get news that Haaland is going to be playing, and I want to captain a certain Egyptian, I therefore bring Mo Salah back in. So yes, I do know I took him out last week, I'm bringing him back in, but I only do this for captaincy as I'll have to take out Kevin De Bruyne. So I do think the only way I do this move is that if we do get news that Kevin De Bruyne is benched or not going to start the fixture, this is an easy move for me because Salah has such a high ceiling. Now in terms of captaincy, I can't really confirm to you guys if I would go for Salah or a Haaland captain if both are going to start. But that's what I'm saying to you guys, this is probably the most unrealistic transfer because I'm losing a player like a KDB against Brentford at home, and he's been super good at the Etihad. So yes, I just wanted to put this out there for you guys, have some discussion about it, because it might be a reality come that Saturday deadline. But this is basically a wrap of the video, guys. Hopefully you did enjoy it. Please don't forget to like if you did and subscribe if you haven't subscribed yet. I'll be seeing you guys in a long time because unfortunately I won't be playing the World Cup Fantasy, but I'll be checking you guys on my Twitter page or on my Discord server. Otherwise, stay safe and hopefully the green arrow is in your favor for Game Week 16. I'm going to sign off with Dayvy FPL and I'm out. Cheers, bye.